Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. Bluegrass Trapper here. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. I'm getting ready to make me some wax sand for trapping this year. I went down to one of the local nurseries and they sell some play sand. Got me a few buckets of sand and I'm going to use the heat from the sun to melt my wax. So I was wanting to show y'all how I do that. Do it all in one batch that way. One and done kind of deal. Normally I would use wax dirt instead of wax sand. But last year I played around a little bit with some wax sand and dry peat moss mixed. So after I get my wax sand all done, later on I'll go get me some peat moss from Lowe's. They sell the big bags of peat moss and dry it out, and I'll mix the peat moss and the wax sand together. And I really like that mixture. If y'all want to see what that looks like, I'll do another video once I get my peat moss showing what it looks like after I mix it together. But for now, I'll make my wax sand. So y'all stay tuned. Alright folks, so I spend all day raking this sand around and I got it to dry in one day. So I can run my rake through it now. It's completely dry. No color change. Dry, which is a good thing. I'm going to take all of it and put it in buckets. And according to my phone, which yeah, I looked at it again, even though it lied to me yesterday, it wasn't supposed to rain, but it did. Next Saturday is supposed to be 88 degrees and clear, so hopefully, which is a week from today, hopefully it's 88 degrees and the sun beating down, we'll get the sand hot enough where I can wax it. So being it's dry, all I have to do is pour it back on the tart, let it heat up, put my wax on it, and work it in. So y'all stay tuned for that. I'll catch y'all in the next process. Alright y'all, I'm back out here today. It's been a week today since I started this process of making the wax sand. I was waiting for the weather to be just right. In the meantime, I had my sand all dried, as you've seen earlier in this video. And supposed to get up to 88 degrees today. I would like for it to get a little bit hotter than that. But it looks like from here all through next week, that's about what it's going to be. But it's staying clear today, so I brought my sand back out here on the tarp a couple hours ago. Poured it on the tarp and let it heat up some. I know 88 degrees is not hot enough to melt wax, but that sand should be much hotter than that with the sun beating down on it and it being on that tarp where it reflects the heat. So I'm going to put my wax on top, and I got 10 pounds of wax right here. I got my wax at Hobby Lobby. I found it on sale. They was discontinuing the 10-pound blocks. So I got it for $13.49 for a 10-pound block. I got a couple of them. That's all they had left at the local Hobby Lobby closest to us. So then I took it, and it was a solid block, and I ran it through a hand cranked cheese grater you can get on Amazon. Worked quite well. Made it into flakes. So I'm going to scatter this 10 pounds on about 6 5-gallon buckets of sand. Like I say, it takes less wax for sand than it does dirt. I feel like the sand's going to get a little bit hotter too, so maybe we'll be okay. Worst case scenario, if the wax doesn't melt today, I'll have it already mixed in my sand and I can do it in small batches later. But let's hope for the best, put it on there and see what happens. I'm just going to scatter it on top for now. So I make sure it's nice and flaked up. It's been sitting in the house for a little bit, so kind of caked up a little. Scatter this 10 pounds on here, which comes out to right at 1.5 pounds per 5-gallon bucket. I've actually got about 6.5 5-gallon buckets of sand here, and 10 pounds comes out to 1.5, etc., etc. So a little over 1.5 pounds of wax, which is about 1 pound less that I'll use with dirt per 5-gallon bucket. Try to mix that on there real nice and thin, or nice and even, I should say. And I believe this is going to be plenty. We'll do a test at the end to make sure it's good and waterproof. But I think with sand, I'll be in good shape. If there's any chunks I need to break up, I'll just hit them with that. Now at this point, I'm not going to touch the sand with my bare hands too much, or at all if I can help it. I'll wear gloves or use that rake to rake it around, just to be on the safe side. I don't want to do all this work and then have it contaminated. So anyway, this is kind of boring, so I'll just keep scattering this over it. Matter of fact, I already see that wax melting so already. And it's only about dinner. The hottest part of the day is supposed to be about 2 o'clock, so I believe we're going to be in good shape on this. Y'all stay tuned while I do this. We'll tune back in. I'll get all that spread over top. Alright, now that I've got it covered over top, I can definitely see that it's already starting to melt. Those dark spots wasn't there, so the wax is already melting. I'm going to take this rake and just rake it in real good and mix everything up. Try to break up any little chunks. One thing about sand versus dirt is once it dries, once it's all melted and starts to cool off, you have to keep it moving around or you're going to wind up with one solid brick. And you don't want that. Yeah, I can already see that the wax is already melting right now, which is pretty awesome. When we get done, we want the whole thing to look like wet sand. You can see it's melting pretty good, sticking to my rake. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but sure is. I'm gonna take it and mix it all up real good. Y'all stay tuned. I'm gonna take the shovel and just go through here and make sure it all got wax in it. Alright, it's been about 15 minutes. And you can see the wax is melting real nice, so that's pretty awesome. I'm gonna keep mixing it up. All this dark stuff in here is wax. So my job here, hot as it is out here, is to keep this stuff mixing. Keep mixing it up, make sure I get it all. Like I tell you, we'll test it at the end. You can see how much darker. I'll just bring the camera closer so you can see it better. See how much darker, all them dark spots in it, that sand is already getting. So I'm gonna mix it all up, make sure it's nice and even, and go from there. Y'all stay tuned. I will say this: if you wanted to use the sun to do it, it is hot and miserable out here. But hey, I'd rather do it like that in one batch than do a bunch of small batches. If I had a concrete mixer, it'd be a little different. But this right here, I like this so far. Y'all stay tuned. Alright y'all, it's a done deal. I come out here about every 15 minutes or so, give it a good stirring around. You can see it all looks wet. It's not wet, that's just the wax. Darken it up. And it's all real nice and even. There's no dry sand in here anymore. And the thing about it is, it's not even the hottest part of the day yet. It's about 1:30. It's 85 degrees right now, but it's nice and clear today. But it's supposed to get up to about 88 around between 2 and 3 o'clock. If I really wanted to cool this down right now, and if I had some help, I could drag it into the shade and start and cool it down, because I do want to mix it up some as I'm cooling it down so it don't clump together. I don't want to put it in buckets while it's still hot, because technically it's still getting hotter as we speak. So what I'm going to do, it's not going to hurt it any. I'm going to leave it out here in the sun the rest of the day until I'll come out here and check on it every once in a while, every 30 minutes or so, make sure it's not sticking together. So far so good, real nice. And then about sundown, when it starts cooling down late this evening, I'll give it one final good mix up, put it in buckets, and we'll test it, see how well it works, how well it sheds water. So all in all, I've tried this before with dirt, and it wasn't quite hot enough and didn't work all that great. It does, I believe, if it's hot enough, but I believe sand gets a little bit hotter than dirt when the sun hits it. So it worked exceptionally well today. It actually melted much faster than I thought it would. It started melting just a couple minutes after I put it on there. So that's all there is to it. White sand. Y'all stay tuned for the final test tonight about sundown. Good morning, guys. I know I said I'd see y'all about sundown. Well, try sun up instead of sundown. I had some things come up yesterday afternoon. My wife had car trouble. Transmission went out. I went down and get her. By the time I got all that done, it was too late to get this in buckets, so I just covered it up, keep the dew and the house cats and stuff off of it. So let's take a look this morning and see what it looks like. I shoveled it all in a pile though. Didn't get it worked as much as I wanted to while it's cooling down. I believe it'll be just fine. Oh yeah. You can see these little chunks in there. But I worked it enough while it's cooling down. These are not gonna be a problem at all. I brought my sifter out and I'm gonna sift it all into buckets while it's nice and cool this morning before it gets too hot. But you can see I just take that in my hand and just crunch them up like nothing. So those chunks are not hard as a rock or nothing like that. So we'll go through that pile. Just stick a shovel in it. You can see where it cooled down, it got a little bit crusty on the outside, but that's just that wax where it got cool. Nothing to it though. Take the shovel and crunch it right back up. So I'm gonna get all this put in buckets, put in a nice cool place this morning, and we'll do a test on it as quick as I get that done. Really nothing to it at this point. Get all this bucketed up and we'll test it. Y'all stay tuned. Alright, so I got it all put in buckets right here. I got 6 full buckets and a partial bucket. You can see over here, I got a pile of clumps and stuff. I could have got 100% yield out of this if I wanted to take my time and just crush them up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this over and take an old brick or something and bash it up and re-sift it. They just match up like nothing, most of them. And I'm going to sift it again and call it good enough. Hey, there you go. I get a bunch more out of that. Like that. Alright. Now let's do the test on it and see how it goes. I can tell by looking at this sand that 1.5 pounds of wax per 5 gallons was plenty of wax. I believe I could have got by with 1 pound of wax to 1.25 pounds wax per 5 gallons. But it's better to have extra, I guess. I'm gonna take a chunk right here, lay it right over here, make me a little. Alright, so I'm gonna make me a little bowl in here, pour some water in there, we're gonna see if it's waterproof. Fill that up with water, just rolls off. 100% waterproof right there. That water just sitting right there on top of it. It will not soak in. Make a little trail and just run right off. That's what you want. Water just run off. You can see a little dust form on top. That's just from the, it's not soaking in. That's just the way the sand is. I'll just roll off. Well, there y'all have it. Waterproof as it gets right there, boys. Hey, I appreciate y'all watching. And like I mentioned earlier in this video, later on I get my dry peat moss, I'll mix this about 50-50 I like the consistency of that. And hope if you want to do sand this year, this is already September 3rd, you might want to get to it if you live in a state where it's still warm enough. That's the whole point of making wax sand or wax dirt or anything like that, to have it waterproof. That way you can put it out there, it won't freeze if it can't get wet, and keep your sets working in the middle of winter, frozen ground. One other thing I was wanting to say that I like about using the sun the way I done it this year is you don't have to worry about scorching anything. So you don't have to worry about heat getting too hot and scorching your sand or your dirt or anything like that, because if you get it too hot and scorch it, at least a burnt smell to it, and it just won't work. I've tried it and I've made that mistake and it didn't work for me. But this is already September 3rd, so if you live in a state here in Kentucky, I'll try to hurry up and get this uploaded. Or if you live in any state that's still warm enough to do this, I believe 80, 82, 83 degrees would probably do it with the sun beating down on it. Yesterday I put it on there, it was about 85 degrees, and then it warmed on up from there, but it started melting just as quick as I put it on there. I had my sand out there a couple hours prior to that, letting it heat up. So that being said, I just wanted to show y'all how I was doing it this year. And trapping season will be here before we know it. It's already September, so here in Kentucky it comes in November. So conventions going on everywhere and things like that. So like I say, appreciate y'all coming along. Catch y'all next one. Y'all have a blessed day.